Before agreeing to send Watson back to the U.S., Australia sought and received a guarantee that he wouldn't face the death penalty if charged. His attorney says Watson is looking forward to being once again vindicated. Will it be vindication for him or justice for Tina?
When it's just a 26-year-old girl on her honeymoon, thinking that she's starting her whole life, and then it's snatched away in an instant.
Details on the timing of Watson's deportation have not been released, but an immigration spokesperson said it would be as soon as possible. Matt?
All right, Amy Robach on this story for us this morning. Amy, thank you very much. Brett Bloomston is Gabe Watson's attorney. He's here with us exclusively along with Alabama Attorney General Troy King. Gentlemen, good morning to both of you.
Good morning, Matt.
Attorney General King, let me just ask you this right off the bat. Why do you have jurisdiction here? This happened in Australia. Why does Alabama have jurisdiction?
Well, look, there are a number of different theories that would give Alabama jurisdiction. One is if he planned the crime in Alabama and then took her to Australia to kill her. The other would be if when he killed her, he intended to come back to Alabama in order to collect an insurance policy or otherwise benefit from his crime.
So you don't think you're going to have a hard time proving jurisdiction in this case?
I think Alabama has jurisdiction. Matter we wouldn't have gone to a grand jury.
The Australian government now says that they've received all the necessary assurances that if he comes back to Alabama, Gabe Watson will not face the death penalty. You have apparently written a letter to the Australian officials saying you will not seek a sentence longer or more serious than life in prison. That's a complete contradiction to what you told me on this show back in October of last year. Take a look.
We would seek a capital sentence if we believe that's what the facts warrant, because to do otherwise would allow Australia to water down Alabama's law just like they've watered down their laws.
Would you seek the death penalty? I mean,
if I believe it's a capital crime, I will.
So are you allowing Australia to water down Alabama's law now?
We call it extortion in Alabama, Matt. That's what happens when they say we won't allow you to pursue this if you don't make these. Look, they've watered down their law. Now they have watered down Alabama's law. It was a difficult decision, but it was one that we made at the request of Tina Thomas's family. They want a day in court. The Australian government took that away from them. They kept them from getting it. And as Attorney General in Alabama, I do care what victims think.
That's a pretty strong word.
Matt, the Attorney General, the state of Alabama, and local legislators pushed the Australian government to prosecute Gabe Watson for murder. That prosecution did not come for 5 years. After 5 years of investigation, and that pushing is only what prompted the Australians to push this case.
What's your reaction to Gabe Watson possibly facing murder charges in Alabama?
They're absolutely ridiculous. To theorize that Gabe Watson planned a murder of his wife, traveled halfway around the world, where there's absolutely no evidence of any financial motive, is as ludicrous as it sounds.
Why did Gabe Watson plead guilty to manslaughter? Why didn't he just plead not guilty?
Matt, he pled guilty to a very obscure Australian manslaughter law, which includes negligence. It's a negligent manslaughter standard. He pled guilty to being a bad dive buddy. He did not plead guilty to anything intentional, and the highest courts in Australia said that he was not guilty of intentionally causing.
The Australian police recreated what they believed happened underwater, and they found that if everything had happened the way Gabe Watson said it happened, that Tina's body could not have ended up where it was. How does he explain that?
An out-of-court experiment is fraught with difficulties, especially in the ever-changing climate of a dive site. We put no faith in that out-of-court recreation whatsoever. The bear hug that was described in the piece, that was a rescue diver who was bear hugging her to the surface, and that's documented in the evidence.
Attorney General King, couple of quick things. What do you think the motive was if murder, in fact, was committed?
Well, Matt, you'll have to wait. In Alabama, we can't talk about those sorts of things, and I'm not going to begin to speculate on them. We believe that there was an adequate basis for us to pursue this. We believe that Alabama should go and get justice for its citizens when a country like Australia fails to do it.
If he comes back to Alabama, how quickly would you indict him?
I can't speculate on something
Matt,
like that.
we understand an indictment has been returned. The question is, will the Attorney General allow him to turn himself in? He traveled halfway across the world to face a murder charge in Australia, which he was found not guilty. He did that on his own volition. He was facing a life sentence while over there, and yet we are told that they will not be satisfied until he is in cuffs when he lands in LA.
Look, Matt, this is all about defense lawyers' sleight of hand. He didn't go to Australia to face a murder charge. They had already worked with him. They had cut a deal. He knew what he was doing when he went down there. He knew it. The family didn't know it, but he knew it.
When are we going to hear the next episode in this? When's the next chapter written in this, Attorney General?
I think it's in the hands of the Australians.
All right, Mr. King, thank you very much.
Thank you,
Mr.
Matt.
Bloomston, thank you very much.